Boo. Does the cloth work? Yeah, a little bit. There we go. There we go. Oh my god. And do I have a couple topics for today? Got some topics to delve into for today. Zuka, where'd you go? Come here, Zuka. Ain't no bite. Oh, you sweet guy. Is the husky time already? It's a day off, so I'll figure I'd chill here for a bit before I get some food. But had a couple topics I could discuss, actually. Because I have some stuff on the mind, I guess, all in all. I actually watched a movie last night that honestly is definitely going to stick with me for quite some time. That's for fucking sure. I mean, honestly, especially considering the theme of the movie. Basically being, well, about nuclear war. Saw 1984's Threads last night, and that shit is fucking scary. Like, I haven't really been scared by a horror film in quite a while until that. Like, I'm not even kidding. Definitely, very fucking surreal. Like, honestly, especially considering the accuracy, I guess, or I suppose the closest realistic outcome of what could happen. And, it's fucking scary. I mean, it makes me think about, it's actually why I'm starting off at the top, because I've been thinking about, like, fucking people like Adam Something and shit who, like, because that shit is really stuck to my fucking craw since I saw that post that Adam Something made, like, probably, like, 4 or 5 days ago now. Maybe a week. But still, it's, like, stuck to my craw so hard because it's, like, you unironically think that nuclear war is okay. Like, okay in a sense that it's not going to be that bad. It shouldn't be, advocated for or whatever the fuck, but it ain't that bad. And yet we have actual, not just real world, like experiences and, like, examples that we can look at directly, and when it comes to the, not just short term, like any immediate aftermath, but in the long term effect of what happens to this shit. And it's not like Hiroshima or Nagasaki where it's very isolated and you can clean it up and it'll be relatively fine, for the next couple of decades, aside from maybe some environmental factors and shit. But, because at that point, it's global. It's a whole global thing. And in the movie, I think it does a really good job, especially with the time frame of everything. Because, essentially, like, when the first bombs drop in the movie, like, the actual apocalypse, like, the actual nuclear apocalypse doesn't happen yet. Like, the first, the basic premise of how the nukes fly is that the Soviets did a nuclear defense missile launch in Iran, and the U.S. retaliated after a bunch of their B-52s were destroyed. So they retaliated by doing a tactical nuke strike on a Russian military base or military installation, and then there was like a few days of lull period and attempted scrubbing of the news of those nuclear confirmation launches. But eventually, of course, it becomes too late. Like, that information gets out, and by the time that does, it's over. Like, by the time people realize nukes were dropped, it's done. Like, it's just done. Like, straight up. I mean, and considering the, like, panic buying, the, like, how society reacts to even the smallest shit like COVID, and yet we're supposed to be able to handle it and be just fine with a nuclear apocalypse. It's like that movie really puts, like, a fucking surreal reality check to you. Because, like, I already knew it wasn't going to be pretty and not going to be good. But, like, there was going to be nothing. Like, there's going to be the government, which is not going to be your friend. They're going to, if anything, actually be valuable to kill you. Once the nukes drop, the government will actually think it's a liability to keep you alive. They already do, by the way, but they will exceptionally do so, because guess what? Money ain't shit. Resources ain't shit. The only valuable thing is food. So you're going to get paid in food, and if you're punished, you're going to be punished by having no food. Like, that's essentially how society will legitimately work. Like, there's not going to be any resources or any, like, material or anything of value, because it all got burnt away in nuclear fire. It all got nuked. And whatever is left is ruined and destroyed and barely works, if it does. It's like, straight up, society would be destroyed. Like, it would go back, like, proto-medieval times. And in the film, it even goes into that society. Like, after the first harvest, with the first spring after the nukes, they used their last little bit of resources for fuel and for the crop machines to try to maximize whatever they, whatever crops they could from their first yield after the nukes, and it was nothing. It was essentially nothing. To the point where, like, the government and just looters and random people will just straight up kill each other. There is no government. There is no system. There is no society. There's nothing. It's just, we would literally be reversed back into our, like, tribalistic nomad ancestors with modern technology and radiation and guns and whatever scraps of fuel are left over for a vehicle that you may or may be able to drive. Like, outside of that, it's like, a nuclear war would straight up bring us prior to medieval times. Like, medieval society would actually be significantly better than a potential post-nuclear war society, because there's no radiation, there's no guns, or, like, the scraps of modern medicine or whatever's left of it, and having to just, like, rely on that and just knowing that it exists, but you just don't have it, inside of just not being able to comprehend such, medicine, and just having to live what you got, basically, so to speak. And also, there's no herbal medicinal things either, because all your most crops and most plants aren't going to live. And also, when it comes to nuclear winter, when a lot of that debris dissipates and shit, there's going to be, and this is just a straight up scientific fact, there will be a massive amount of ultraviolet light radiation and ultraviolet lights hitting the sun, hitting the planet. And guess what that means? More radiation from the sun this time. And that means that you're far more significantly likely to get leukemia, skin cancers, and just cancer in general. Your eyes will be significantly more likely to cataract. Like, your lifespan pretty much is cut in half just on the virtue of dying from cancer. And you think cancer's bad now? And not only that, but we see a contemporary example of this, which is that even today, to anyone who's still, it's not even just Japan, like with Nagasaki, Hiroshima, or Chernobyl, but in Kazakhstan, the Soviets during the Cold War used Kazakhstan as, like, their nuclear test site area. Like a lot of the countrysides and a lot of the very empty vastness of Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan were used as the Soviets' nuclear testing sites, because there's so little populations outside of, like, a village, a few villages of, like, a couple hundred people. But those people, even though they were, not exactly close to these nuclear test sites, like, they can tell they happened, and they were just told that there was some other bullshit. Because obviously they're not going to be told that, yeah, we got nukes and we're using them near you. Yeah, like, they're not going to be told that. But they knew that there was something up. And these days, if you go look at it, like, a lot of these people out in, like, Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan, a lot of them suffer from genetic deformities and things like, massive mental regression because of just radiation and what it does to you. It's not the fact that, like, they were literally directly nuked. It's just that because of that fallout radiation of using a test site that was probably like 50-something fucking miles away from them, all that shit just flows, you know, for the weather, for the winds, and just seeps into their fucking environment and their ecosystem. And it fucks us over even further, including the crops and the fucking land around it. It's just like nuclear war isn't necessarily like the entire earth is just like a literal ball of flames. I mean, it's that you get a lot of very major high valued areas like massive agricultural hubs, resource hubs, major cities. Those will, but everything outside of that is going to be not much, because it wasn't necessarily valued to be as valuable to begin with. Because I mean, if you got like massive empty like, you know, plains, but it's not able to be, you know, used for agriculture, you know, because, or else, you know, there'd be farms out there, then there's no point in dropping anything out there. If people move there to try to get away from, you know, the apocalyptic wastelands and shit, they're not going to have anything. They're just going to find more wasteland. So it's not good. I mean, I just find it utterly insane that there are people out there that are willing to try to like somehow like undermine that legitimate like global severity of that. Unless nuclear winter will cancel out global warming for a while. No, not really. I mean, yeah, I guess with temperatures and shit, but I mean, it like climate change will just literally be accelerated like 1,000-fold. Only because climate change being a very man-made or man-impacted type of thing, that we're just literally just we're just like not even just putting the fucking gas to the, you know, like pedal to the metal. We're also putting the nitro in there. We're fucking gotten like, you know, some gigantic like rocket on the back of it and shit. We're launching that baby. Let's go. You know, to the moon. You know, that's what we be doing with that. Because I mean, it wouldn't be like a mass warming, but then it'll be a mass nuclear cooling, and all that nuclear elements aren't really going to help out with the cooling. I mean, if it was volcanoes, that'd probably be a little different, because volcanoes are a lot more of a natural cooling cycle that the planet has. Volcanoes are one thing, nukes aren't. I think, you know, society, I mean, historically, we've always been able to, you know, muster through with fucking volcanoes and shit. Like Mount St. Helens, I think, was back in like, what, 82? Like, that was probably the most severe one in the, like, at least for the United States. Like, my dad remembers when that went off, him seeing like 2+ inches of ash in Billings, Montana, hundreds of miles away. So it's just almost 1,000 miles away if I had to gander. But like, either way, it's just like, I mean, I think ash was like dropped in Europe from St. Helens. Like, I think that's how far that shit went. I mean, it's like, you know, there's like some pretty major impact. There was actually one recently in the fucking ocean near Tonga that like made such a massive fucking shockwave and shit, like a visible shockwave from space, that it was so impactful. Like, I mean, we can, you know, when it comes to volcanoes, like, we can deal with that shit. We can manage that. Nukes, not so much. Nobody wins that. Volcanoes, we can overcome that. Because it has a similar, like, global cooling type of aspect, depending on how severe a volcano would be with that. I mean, because if you have, like, a massive supervolcano like the Yellowstone, that would also be a very apocalyptic scenario. But, honestly, I do think that humanity would have a legit higher chance of surviving that than nukes. I think humanity would survive Yellowstone much better than nukes. Because we at least, you know, have had a bunch of different, you know, historical accounts and times, even contemporary, you know, for us to kind of be like, all right, you know, here's what happens with volcanoes, and here's the aftermath, here's, you know, the effects of it shit. Nuclear war, we don't really have that much, aside from, you know, some examples and what we do know of the damage, and just extrapolating that even higher, you know, when it comes to how severe it can be, especially for Nagasaki and Hiroshima. So it's like, we have these examples, and then plus, you know, just all these other variables. Like, it's there's just no winning that. I mean, like, because even with the government's trying to have, like, its more localized regional governmental bodies to try to keep control and still have, like, a thread of society of some sort. By the way, hence the movie Threads, which started this whole topic. Because it really shows that how much society is tied in by these threads. And honestly, it's kind of giving me a fucking epiphany a little bit. Because, like, I mean, we are essentially all tied together globally by these, like, threads of commerce, trade, travel, diplomacy, culture, all sorts of shit. We're like, we're all threaded interconnectedly, and all it takes is just one thing to snap all the threading off. Because in the very beginning of the movie, the first frame start off with a spider making threads of web, and at the end of the movie, it's one of the survivors literally taking threads apart of old cloth to use for rags. So it's just like, or just to repurpose and hope that they can, use those threads, to rebuild, whether it's clothes, rags, whatever the hell. It's a very, there's a lot of visual themes and a lot of visual symbology in that movie. A lot of it. Like, also within the first 10 minutes of the movie, there's a little side scene with one of the kids and this daughter who got pregnant, and the kid was kind of curiously asking, about like, oh, what are abortions, what. So they're all asking about, the kid's asking about, like, abortions and shit, which is a major, insane, fat fucking foreshadowing. Because just after the next drop, that same daughter is now essentially like, I don't want to raise my kid in this. I can't. But obviously, there's no real resources anymore to abort the kid, so she has the child, and because she's also been heavily exposed to radiation, panic, and also malnutrition, and probably ill, to some extent, with a disease probably at this point, whether it's like typhoid, dysentery, whatever the fuck it is at that point, because mass disease would just spread like wildfire right after this, when modern medicine just collapses. And it's like, by that point, there's going to be massive higher chances of deformities and mental regression, like I was saying from earlier, and at least, with her child, it doesn't look like that. But again, there's some more foreshadowing with that fucking movie where it shows that continuous cycle, because then her kid later down the line has a kid, and it ends the movie that way. And it's just like, it's a fucking insane movie, honestly. Definitely one, at least for me, makes me think. Where is that? It's probably inside, right? Yeah, he's inside. What are you doing? What are you doing, buddy? What you doing? Seen Super Volcano? It's What If Yellowstone Went Off, movie from the early 2000s. Super Volcano? I think so. I think I might have seen that before. Stand up. There you go. Goes over what would happen the first few days after the super volcano goes off. I mean, honestly, it's like, I feel like, I still personally think that humanity would fare a little better. Because, honestly, think about it. Like, when it comes to a super volcano, you're going to kind of, like, especially meteorologists, well, not meteorologists, are they meteorologists? Or geologists? Or meteorologists. So there's like a very specialized geology field when it comes to, like, studying, like, volcanoes and, like, their activity and shit. I forgot what it's called specifically, but either way, not the point. Like, I mean, but the point is that we have, people that actually are looking in and studying when these volcanoes are active, or, when they potentially may or may go off. And, with that, it's like I feel like we would have fared better because we actually would have time to prepare. Like, it's not like, hey, you got 5 minutes or the nukes are about to drop. Like, we just saw them launch, from Moscow or some shit, and, we got 5 minutes. It's like, you don't get that. Like, you would have, like, maybe even up to a week, of preparation to be like, this shit's about to go off. But at the same time, prior to that happening, we'd notice a little ramping up of activity from that type of volcano. And, where it's just like, all right, we can, evacuate the, this area here, and, within a week's time or so, just like let people know, hey, it's going to be about a month or so, give or take. We're having a very regimented process to ensure that people can be evacuated safely and get all, the most valuable resources and including people out of here. Like, just a lot of different things that can easily just be like, hey, here's how we can get people, like, here's how we can actually prep for this shit. Nuclear war, you just don't. Like, it just happens. A super volcano, you would actually have time to prepare. I mean, it's also not some, like, weird Machiavellian, like, we better fucking, not tell anyone we have these things, or else, there might be more panic. Like, it's more in the country, or more in the state's best interest to be more open about information on volcanoes and shit. So even there, like, I mean, it just seems like supervolcanoes, humanity has a legit higher chance of surviving. I mean, I'm not, like, that would be a case where it's like, yeah, it would suck, but we actually could fare, from that. Like, when it comes to nukes, like, that not only sucks, but we die. Volcanoes, though, especially supervolcanoes, yeah, it'd suck, but we probably could live. Probably. Us specifically? Probably not. But, there would be probably people out there who can make it. Also, if you think about it, I'd probably imagine if, like, let's say Yellowstone goes off, anyone who lives in a southern equatorial zone is just fine. Well, maybe not just fine, but they're going to be fine for a while. Like, they won't really feel the major impacts from Yellowstone going off until probably a week or so afterwards. Well, maybe less, but just depends on where, like, wind patterns and wind trajectories go with the currents too, when it comes to ash and dispersing that globally. The ash will choke most of the country. Well, the U.S., yeah. Like, the only people, dead ass, that might survive are people on the West Coast. And I don't mean, like, just, like, those states. I mean, like, the 100-mile zone to the coast. Like, that type of thing. Because, honestly, like, I mean, I'm thinking, at least, especially for the Pacific Northwest, you got those fat-ass mountains. And also, a lot of the winds go east. They don't really go westward as much. Like, usually we get a lot of the winds from either Pacific or from, like, Alaska, usually. A lot of northern winds. So, it would actually take there would definitely be ash that would be moving westward, but it would take some more time still for a lot of that ash to circulate around the globe and reach its way to the West Coast. So, in a weird but fucked up way, people on the West Coast might have a little bit of a chance to have a little more time, before shit really truly hits the fan. So, I mean, that's the thing about Yellowstone, at least when it comes to that specifically. Like, there's some factors that, are in play that could at least give humanity a legitimate chance. I don't think nukes, humanity have a legitimate chance. Apparently the Soviets legit thought they could nuke Yellowstone and set it off. I'm sure you would piss Yellowstone off. I'm sure you would rumble it up a little bit, but I don't think you would get it off. Limited nuclear exchange and Yellowstone, even worse for humanity. Yeah, pretty much, like, most, if not probably all life on the planet would just die. Like, at that point, outside of, like, sea life, like in the oceans. So, it's like, unless, like, you're some ocean dweller, GG fam, you had a good run. So, yeah, like, I mean, if it's Yellowstone and nukes, yeah, just, not just humanity, but just, like, planet, just, like, just everything's fucked. I'd rather have just one of those, and I'd rather it just be Yellowstone. Because at least then, it's just like, alright. It's, you don't got, like, radiation and shit. Like, you would definitely have, like, some problems, especially, when it comes to make sure your own health is alright. Because, obviously, being exposed to a bunch of volcanic ash doesn't do anything good for your health at all. So, it's like, I mean, really, it's going to be that and also crops. Like, it would mainly be food. So, like, depending on where you're at, like, you just might be fucked when it comes to food. like especially when it comes to trying to make sure that you have like a sustainable source of food. So it's at least still like there would be a large swaths of the earth that would still be at least farmable and habitable, because of that. I mean, honestly, a lot of the northern hemisphere would probably just basically be like the more apocalyptic wasteland, and then survivors will probably just be flooding their way south to the southern hemisphere. So a lot of countries, in the southern areas, like and like whether it's Australia or like Brazil or some shit, like they're probably gonna, they're gonna probably start enacting American-esque immigration policies because of that shit. If you think about it, because there's, especially with climate change, there's always talk about mass influx of migrants and refugees. When it comes to climate refugees and shit, especially from the equatorial zones. And it's like if we have like a massive super volcanic winter type of scenario in most of the northern hemisphere, and maybe even in some parts of the southern hemisphere too, to some extent, because Yellowstone is fucking huge. So it's like something like that, would make a very major impact even to those countries in the south, because they would have to prioritize a lot of their resources and a lot of their production for themselves, to make sure that they're still sustainable. So either way, it definitely wouldn't be good. But I mean, at least when it comes to just general survival of humanity, like that's at least very, like, I still think that's significantly stronger of a chance than nukes. I recently read the Geological Society of Alaska suspects a ring of volcanic islands is an outline of an ancient supervolcano, bringing the number up to 8 of an ancient supervolcano. Possibly. I mean, I want to put it past me. I mean, because like a lot of our, tectonic plates and how the planet looks now definitely was not the same millions and millions of years ago. So, I mean, or hell, even fucking like 100,000 years ago, and so, give or take. I mean, just how like the planet and like the land mass is on it, are ever so slightly changing, and with that, so are where volcanoes are and where volcanic activity is and all this other shit. So, I definitely don't put it past me. If anything, I mean, it might have like merged or like moved. Like as, the plates move around and shit, so does where, like, the positionings of these supervolcanoes, or, like, these little vents, for supervolcanoes to go. Nuclear war's fine, we just have to be raiders. And yeah, and also have to deal with, like, cataracted eyes, and fucking cancers, and dysentery, and all sorts of other shit. Yeah, and live like a medieval serf, being a highwayman, and having, like, government troops, sniping everybody because they're fucking bandits or something in their mind, instead of just people surviving. Like, straight up, like, in that film, in Threads, like, the government essentially just treats the people as, like, some form of a chattel. Like, they basically go full Nazi mode, if you think about it. Like, they have full-on concentration camps and extrajudicial forms of justice and court systems, which is basically just, like, if you're guilty, you're just killed. Like, that's as simple as that. Like, I mean, if, so it just becomes a mass, like, basically warlord state. Like, that's really the most likely scenario of what would happen if humanity were to continue for some time after that. We would just basically be a bunch of, like, tribalistic warlord societies. Some of them, government remnants. Some of them, just like probably like, worker unions and shit that, were like at the factory and they heard the bomb and they all went to their shelter and shit and just kind of stuck together, or just, like a neighborhood, that like all kind of like managed to survive and shit, like that shit. Like you'll just get these tribalistic bands of communities together and they're all just gonna, essentially by proxy, more or less, probably treat each other more or less as like enemies, just because who can you fucking trust? Especially when you barely have resources for yourselves. And everyone else running around seeing where other people are at, they're likely trying to take your shit. Let's match some societies would be better than ours. Than others. Well, yeah. I mean, because in the movie Threads, it takes place in England. So, like, a lot of what happens, in England, if there were to be a nuclear war, it probably would not be the same as in the United States. Like in the United States, there actually probably would be a lot of elements of the U.S. and some regions of the U.S. that probably, for the most part, won't be impacted that much. Like they will definitely still feel the major effects of the nuclear apocalypse. Basically, all in all, they still will. But I mean, at the end of the day, they will still have a higher chance to at least have crop yields and potentially have some food for themselves, at the very least, to at least have some form of sustainability. But it basically would just be only a matter of time before other people, as they try to escape these wastelands, who would find those places. And those type of societies can, depending on how well they're doing, with their production of things, will either be able to take at least maybe some people in, or maybe whoever comes by, or nobody, because they're making just enough for themselves, but not much more. Because they can't afford, to have more, or else they'll just strain their resources further. I mean, because at that point, it's not just like, oh, well, we could just move to this, plot of dirt and it'll be just fine. I mean, because that plot of dirt just could be just fully irradiated, even if you potentially could farm on it. Because, like, I mean, like some examples, like Chernobyl, like with the exclusion zone, it's shown that life very much can survive even in an irradiated area. But does that mean it's good for us? Does that mean it's good for our survivability? Does that mean that we can be there? No, it doesn't. I mean, like, other life is able to adapt and evolve a little better than us when it comes to certain aspects. Like, radiation doesn't necessarily impact other animals and other life as much as it does us. It still does, but not too much of an extent. I mean, honestly, what really kind of surprised me with it was learning about the wolves of Chernobyl. I mean, which is the name of the documentary. Which, well, is self-explanatory. It's it goes into some of the basic history about Chernobyl, and some scientists since then who have been studying the life and the environment there and been tracking different animals like these wolves that have been in Chernobyl. And if anything, it's shown that, in some cases, life has been shown to spring back, since humanity left after, a radiation spill, and shit, due to a nuclear meltdown. It's not the same as a nuclear weapon, but it shows that, despite the fact that there's radiation in this area, life can potentially, spring back. And that includes, things that we can eat. But the problem is that food could also potentially be irradiated if it's grown in a more irradiated area. So you're still irradiating yourself, and it's not good for you, and that will kill you. So it's like, just because maybe life might be springing back doesn't mean that it's going to be good for you. I mean, it will take a couple generations of humanity to kind of have their bodies eventually adapt, to just the heightened levels of radiation that they're in. Because our bodies have evolved, to deal with and absorb and handle the radiation that we do face, because we always are being hit with radiation all the time because of our sun. So we're naturally evolved to handle radiation, but it's only so much. I mean, same thing with other animals too, and with all life. But because of how much offspring can be created for other life in comparison to us, they have essentially a quicker way of adapting to these type of things. Because if you have a wolf, like wolves breeding in a more irradiated area, maybe those first wolves that were in that area might not be as prone to irradiation immunities, or at least more resistant to it naturally. But the next 3-4 generations of wolves, which would happen within a span of less than a decade, most certainly will. So, and there's been, some studies over it showing these things, and it's honestly pretty interesting. So, I mean, it's not to say that, nuclear war would literally just, wipe all life off. I mean, that part isn't necessarily true. It's just that, when it comes down to it, it would just basically bring society back down to, proto-medieval medieval era, just with some elements and remnants of our modern society left. So it's just it wouldn't, we would be thrown back at least 1,000+ years. Be slow death for humanity. Yeah, it would. Hey, Zukov. Hey. Zukov. Don't be like that. Hey. Oh my god. Bruh. Bruh. Jeez Louise. You want to go see what's going on? Are you that curious? Zuka. Zuka. Come on. Now you've seen. Now you've looked. It's the damn neighbors, bro. Imagine post-nuclear war vac candidates. No. Or drunk, or some way to dull the mental pain. Well, there is at least some of it left over with some of the survivors, you know, at least when it shows in the film. There's one scene where there's a father of one of the characters and shit basically was able to trade some scotch, or trade some cigarettes for some scotch because he has some cigarettes left. And this old man's like, I got some scotch. And man, I never thought I'd be begging for... Well, I mean, again, it's in England, so he's like, I never thought I'd be begging for a fag, but do you happen to, you know, have one where I can sink a fag off you? And he's like, what do you have? What do you have that I can have? He's like, I got some scotch, and he just pulls out this fat-ass bottle of, like, an absurd huge bottle of scotch. It actually made me chuckle a little bit in the film. It was actually kind of like a weird, lighthearted moment in the film. He just does this big bottle of scotch that's like at least half full, so it's probably at least like, you know, a fifth there still, just chilling. And he's just like, I'll take that, you know, and he's like, thank you very much. And then, you know, the old man has his cigarettes and lights them up, and he's just like, oh, you know, it's just like a weird, lighthearted, but also very tragic way of, you know, realizing like that's probably the last cigarettes and the last bit of scotch they're gonna ever have in their life. It's just like, especially for that old man, because I guarantee that old guy ain't living long. Zukov, baby. Have you heard of this War of Mine? It's a game that takes place during a war where you play civilians trying to scavenge supplies to live. I think I have heard of it. Oh yeah. Yeah, I just looked it up. I'm seeing, like, whatchamacallit, like, screen caps of the gameplay, and, yeah, I've seen it. Actually, I haven't played it at all, but, yeah, I've seen it around before. It sometimes makes choices that cause your people to get depressed, like stealing for extra supplies. I mean... shit like that wouldn't necessarily, at least to me, be like what would make me depressed. It'd be more like literally everything else, probably. You can make work choices too. Well, I imagine you could. I mean, honestly, when it really comes down to it, like, if, you know, some shit like that were to happen, like, honestly, for me, like, the only people I would view in a more antagonistic light And it would probably be more or less like, like some governmental forces that would legit, okay, I should probably be careful, but like, governmental forces that, would, be like these localized forces that have just like no communication or control and shit, especially when it came to movie Threads, like whatever resemblance the government was left literally just collapsed and broke down within 12 hours, despite them having like backup plans and like a backup government and backup systems in place in case the nukes were to launch and shit. And it's just like considering that, and also especially a lot of these troops, basically doing the whole shoot on sight for looters and all this other shit, it's like, basically me wandering around could be considered, me being a looter, so I just get shot. At least when it comes to an average person, or somebody else trying to survive, there's a lot more likely of a chance that we could probably team up and help each other. More so than fucking, so like getting shot on sight because I'm a looter. So it's like really, I mean, at that point, it's like anyone with like, governmental patches would just be like, be seen as at very best suspect. I'd be like, are you going to look at me as a looter and shoot me? Because I don't trust you. And also, whatever food stores and shit that you have, you're just going to withhold from me anyway, so fuck you. You're basically going to force me to, work in a labor camp, to get some of that food if I go with you, so fuck yourself. I ain't going to be, some slave to you. Like, so at very best, I'm going to be suspect of them, and at worst, it's probably going to be just like, it's just, skirmishes back and forth. Because there ain't no way in hell, there's, that type of shit's gonna work unless they have like, hey, we just have like these little camps set up where we're just passing food out to people. I mean, then it's like, okay, I just go in line and just get some food and I go. And I go about my business. Because at least at that point, there's a natural sense of benevolency where it's like, hey, we're actually looking out for these fucking people here, and, actually we're able to have some form of stabilized, backup plan. But, like, the chances of that realistically are like, honestly, like 1%. And it's honestly more likely that, average people would come together and do that more so than anything else. And even then, that's unlikely. Once I had a character, because I stole the last bit of food from a homeless camp. Oof. Damn, bro. Well, that game definitely don't beat no punches. Hey, big boy. Oh, you sweet little thing. Just a sweet little baby he is. Yeah, so what else is happening? Since we've been basically having a 40-minute nuke talk, let's refrain to something maybe a little more positive. It's a fun game, but brutal and realistic for consequences for choices. I mean, I do like games like that have at least, elements of realism in it. Where you have to actually kind of legit think a little bit more about, some of the choices and, what the consequences could be, instead of just kind of like, oh, I do this or that, and these preset outcomes happen. It's just like, well, that shouldn't really happen. It should be like, it should all depend based on what your actions were made, from the game from the start. Because I like that. Because it shows that, like, at least, in the in-game world feels a little bit more, like, real in a sense that, like, it actually evolves and grows as, you play the game. But that's why I love games like, Red Dead Redemption 2, for example, because I think that's actually a really great example, because when you play the epilogue as John, like, if you go to some places like in Valentine, for example, when you're Arthur, there's a little house that's being constructed, and it's not done yet, but when you're John and you go to that same town, that house is done, and it's like a little house that someone lives in now. And it's just like, just small little details like that are pretty fucking cool. Just like, different elements and different things, what characters may say to you or do to you based on, choices and actions. See what Trump said he would do if he was still in power. Oh God, do I want to know? I send nuclear subs to Russia. How do we know we already don't? Like, we have nuclear submarines that are out on patrol in these, you know, in the Atlantic and Pacific oceans. And they're stationed in Georgia and in Washington. So, like, who says we don't already? Like, what, do you think information like that's just gonna be public? Like, I bet even some, you know, like, governmental bodies or governmental, workers and shit, or like politicians and shit, I bet some of them don't even necessarily know that shit. I mean, that type of shit is going to be kept tight fucking lip. Because especially, like, because if that was just public info and Russia found out, especially if it's public, then they definitely know about it. But if something came out where it's like, yeah, you know, it's like we have these, you know, fucking, nuclear submarines out on patrol and shit, you know, and it's just open and seeing, like, here's where the patrol routes are and all this other shit. It's like, yeah, obviously, you know, Russia would see that and be like, the fuck? You just have, like, you know, nuclear subs just patrolling around. I mean, they're doing the same thing too, but they're obviously going to play innocent. I mean, they got the same shit going on as well. They got nuclear subs that are on patrol. They got, you know, I'm pretty sure Kaliningrad and Vladivostok would be it. Then Trump wants to explain. Well, he's a strongman psycho shithead. Of course he does. A lot of these type of strongmen do, and a lot of war profiteers and warmongers and neoliberal corporatist pieces of pawn scum fucking want it. The media wants it. Like, he ain't the only one that wants nukes to fucking fly. Because especially when it comes to, like, the media, they've been exceptionally gung-ho for fucking war. Which, honestly, it's just, like, the hypocrisy of, like, you know, people getting outraged of Trump, you know, saying shit like this. But it's like, bitch, call the fucking media out. They're the ones, you know, constantly been creaming about World War III, you know, since the start of this shit. It's like, I just hate the actual, like, full-on hypocrisy with this type of shit. Whenever war happens, or, you know, whenever this type of shit happens, or if China or Russia literally do, like, anything, it's just like, whether it's, like, you know, legitimately unjustifiably fucked up shit, or just like, oh, they did trade deal or some shit. It's just like, I mean, it's always seen as like, oh my god, blah, blah, blah. But never will look at themselves in the fucking mirror when it comes to that shit. It's like, can't just, you know, be anti-imperialist and anti, you know, like, fascistic superpower, you know, like, across the board. You only have to do it for one side or the other, depending on how global events are, you know, pulling. If it pulls one way, then you're anti-imperialist and anti-like fascistic, like, superpower expansion shit in one way. If it's being pulled another way, then you're being against it in that way. If Russia joined NATO. Oh, did he actually upload that video? Oh, wait. No, he did. And I'm actually staring at... I didn't even realize it, but I was staring at the... Here. I haven't done anything, but I have the screen pulled up here, and I literally haven't done anything, but I didn't realize I was looking at it the entire time. I was, like... I just been staring at it, and it's like, have you seen it? I'm like, no, did you upload it yet? And I'm like, oh, wait, I'm staring at it. But yeah, well, here, I'll watch it.
NATO. Two sides that are just getting along swimmingly at the moment. There have been questions as of late about how such a thing could have been prevented. Could Russia perhaps have joined NATO at some point in its history, as old Putin has suggested? Realistically, I'm gonna be honest, no. Like, there's a bunch of different factors from both sides that just make even conceiving the idea as laughable. If you want to know at least my perspective on Russian-NATO relations, my last video is the best explanation you're going to get. I'm not going to repeat it again. But that is depressing realism. Nobody likes that. Who likes it? Now, it's time for us all to come together and be optimistic.
Come together right now over NATO.
An alternate timeline where two global superpowers were not on a collision course. One where Russia and NATO came together. How would this happen? What would exactly this alternate world look like? When would they come together? What's even...
the alternate world of that would literally look better. That's all I know and care about.
Happening? Who? What? Oh boy, this is probably one of the more loaded questions I have pondered. What if Russia had joined NATO? What would that even entail? When would that entail? There have been multiple times throughout history that Russia has asked to join NATO, both sincerely and insincerely. All times regardless, they have been shot down. Now every side has their reasons for not joining together, and since all of you are probably going to tell me your reason for why these two don't get along, I want you to think of that reason right now. You think of it? That doesn't happen in this alternate timeline. It could be entirely illogical, it might not make sense, but we're being optimistic. Everyone gets along for no reason, regardless of ideology. Russia...
Oh my god, I just love how he's just like, you know what? I don't know how to explain it, so it's literally just a hippy-dippy, everyone is all, get along, you know, come along, get along, you know, it's like, yeah. Like, whatever it is, like, oh, you pinko commies or you capitalist eagles of the West or whatever, yep, that just don't exist.
Just a way to come together and form the same collective alliance.
It just has to, like, basically imply that, like, all this, like, massive political, like, fracturing and shit, whether domestically and internationally, just doesn't happen, or at least not to the extent of where it becomes, like, an actual issue, you know, when it comes to diplomacy like this.
Have joined NATO itself. I lied. NATO, at least as we know it, doesn't exist in any optimistic scenario. I probably just got myself demonetized. There is hope, but there is always hope between the Russians and the West in a mutual alliance. That isn't NATO. One that takes both sides and gives them a voice and a head. Think of it like two heads. A two-headed eagle. Okay, bad example. Better. But before even imagining a scenario where these two actually came together...
Is that from 1984?
A little contemporary, if you ask me. We should talk about the first time this was attempted. 1953, Stalin is dead. The new regime in the USSR wished to de-Stalinize some of the more extreme elements within the nation. Let some political enemies out the gulag here, be less militaristic there. Khrushchev and Molotov came to the West with an offer. How about we sweep aside all that animosity during the Stalin years and come together? If this whole NATO thing you just created isn't anti-Russian or anti-communist, then it shouldn't be an issue if we joined as well, right? To which the Western nations all metaphorically laughed.
I mean, honestly, it's like, that is, there is a point to that. And I actually think that, you know, if, like, because obviously, you know, especially in this era, it was primarily anti-communist military alliance. But if it was, like, actually more seen as like a European defensive alliance instead, and you know, didn't like have the massive like anti-communist animosity and shit, honestly I think there could have been a possibility of like hey, you know, we're gonna kind of, you know, try to get, you know, brush all aside, let's try to start on a fresh foot, you know, we got new leadership, we want to try to, like, you know, show that we're, you know, being honest with this shit. We've de-Stalinized some shit. We kind of demilitarized a little bit here and there. We released some of his political enemies because, you know, overall they're not, you know, so it's like, hey, you know, come a time, like, look, we're trying to, you know, get on a better footing here. You know, it's like, honestly, like, there could have been a possibility of something like that, you know, happening. But, of course, you know, you have to basically imply that none of that animosity ever existed in the first place, you know, for something like that to, you know, be the case. Which, especially when you had influences, not just like, generals like Patton and shit, but also leaders like Churchill were very fucking gung-ho on saying that after the Nazis, we need to keep pushing, type of shit. Like, basically prolong World War II after you take out one enemy and then basically, do the whole enemy of my enemy is my friend. But hey, the enemy ain't there anymore, so now you're my enemy again. It's just like, ew, fuck that. And also fuck that too. But it's just like, ugh. I mean, you had like a lot of these, influences, in these countries and shit that basically kind of pushed, more of that animosity. Because, I mean, honestly, especially after World War II, especially on the ground, there was, amongst soldiers and amongst like officers and shit, there was like, a sense of camaraderie and kinship amongst each other. Like, I mean, there's fucking videos of this all over the place on YouTube, or in like in fucking documentaries where it's like, the Russians and U.S. or the British meet and they're all like drinking, fucking dancing, sloshing out and getting fucking plastered as shit, smoking, exchanging cigarettes, all sorts of shit. Like, I mean, and basically having a blast and like acting like a bunch of kids at like a fucking high school reunion or something. I mean, it's just like, when you have like that type of camaraderie and then like within less than a decade, all of a sudden you're now like looking at each other as enemies. It's just like, I mean, it just doesn't entirely make sense unless there's legit political motives, to push that type of animosity. And I mean, honestly, really it's true. If it wasn't there probably would have been more sense of like, hey, let's actually try to work together a little bit. Let's try to, see if we can, cooperate a little more. Maybe in a longer term, make a more unified, European alliance or a unified European organization and shit. But no. Obviously, that's not what, that's not what happened. Our timeline is not that nice. Our timeline ain't cool enough for that.
And slammed the door behind them. Taking this as the response they expected, the Soviets in return formed their own alliance,
the Warsaw Pact.
A year later. The Cold War as we know it was officially on. Yeah. Woo! So when imagined
woo! Yeah, baby!
were somehow just accepted by the very alliance that was formed to oppose them, it does force us to take some liberties. We'll have to make both sides more accepting of coming together. We're being optimistic here. It's not brainwashing. Optimistic. Have negotiations go in a better way.
Hey. I honestly do think, legitimately, there could have been an outcome like that. But there are different political influences and powers in the military and governmentally that just obviously weren't about that. A lot of them are like, hey, we need to keep this war and keep our troops pushing eastward further. And it's just like, yeah, but those guys were literally all celebrating and drinking and having a bunch of fun, literally like for a week straight. And you're telling them to go fight each other. It's like, huh? I mean, and then like, this shit happens and, because, they keep pushing this type of animosity. And here we are. It's like fast forward to today and, it's like, eh.
Basically, the West doesn't care that the Soviets are not Western and democratic, and the Soviets don't care that the West is capitalistic. All come together in this new umbrella alliance thing. First question, if two mortal enemies come together in a defensive alliance, what exactly are they defending against?
And don't just say China.
Both clearly had different ideas about what the future of Europe should be. Both are not going to simply let bygones be bygones. So would such an alliance even work if both sides only tried to undermine the other? No. Of course not. But that's the point. What if in this alternate timeline, there wasn't an iron curtain, but more like a iron patchwork? What? The future of
iron patchwork
split. It's pretty much a free-for-all. And I know it sounds incredibly stupid.
Man, hold on. I want to look at this map, like that weird-ass patchwork map.
Iron patchwork.
Oh my god, this just basically implies that, so Yugoslavia would still be Yugoslavia. Basically, all of Germany would be the German Democratic Republic. Norway would be, well, actually Norway is kind of gobbled up by Sweden up there. So Norway got smaller. Norway just shrunk. I'm sure Norwegians would have some animosity. But basically, they would basically be the Norwegian Democratic Republic or like a Norwegian Socialist Republic. I don't know what they call it. Romania is just, just Romania, I guess. Like, Poland, like, oh my god. And then Switzerland, of course, is neutral, as always. Ireland would be like the Irish Socialist Republic or something. I don't even know. Like, what? Like, they'd just be like, they'd be so alone over there. They're so alone. They're by themselves. They don't even get, like, all of Ireland either.
The future of Europe isn't split.
The IRA would still exist in this timeline, I guess.
Such a free-for-all. And I know it sounds incredibly stupid, and it's because it is. We all know that if the West and Soviets came together united, they would still fight. The only thing
I mean, at least, okay, I actually do grant that, and I do think that would very much still be the case, when it comes to, like, kind of political fighting, what side should have what, or what side, should have, when it comes to preferences on certain shit. But I feel like at least at that rate, it would be a lot more of a diplomatic process. Maybe it'll be more heated, and and maybe there would be some escalatory aspects on certain fronts. But the likelihood of it becoming militaristic would be just very, very unlikely. I think at that point, definitely nowhere near to the extent as we see it in our own current timeline, at least. Just mainly because, like, there's at least like a actual institution where all sides and all parties are a part of, where they have to basically kind of, be at the table and figure shit out. Like, so there isn't like this, like there's two different shit, and they all have their own little tables and they're all kind of like colluding behind each other. They, it's like, while that might still be the case to a degree, they still have this fucking table they have to, kind of come to and shit, to work it out. So, I don't know, like, I mean, I feel like, while that would probably still be fighting and, and still be, like, backs and forths and shit like that, it probably wouldn't be, to the level that we would see it, today. Like, where maybe there would be, possible skirmishes, but more so, like, like elsewhere, like, how we would probably, like, things in the Middle East and Africa might relatively probably be similar, but maybe not to the same extent. There'll probably be different things and factors that would actually be relatively similar to our timeline, but probably just not to the same extent. Just because there would be this more bigger actual, like, seat, where kind of the two opposing sides, so to speak, would be at. Where there's not, like, this mass, just kind of literal iron curtain, kind of separating it to, from the table. So, I mean, I don't know. I feel like, it just would be less, like, severe when it comes to that shit.
Alternate world is that instead of two military blocs hating each other, we have one loose alliance of nations that have no real goal outside of general European unity, like a multi-headed dragon that fights amongst itself. For both sides, such an alliance wouldn't really be an alliance.
Honestly, that's a good way to put it.
Together. More of an alliance agreeing to look the other way whenever the other side does something bad. And the only reason they are agreeing to look away is that they're doing the exact same thing as well. Think of this alternate alliance as a house divided where the family is constantly fighting, trying to upstage one another, many regretting why they ever moved in or were even born. It's not
honestly, this is really becoming a very good way to describe this
environment. And that is pretty much what Europe becomes. Americans and Soviets looking the other way as they each try to upstage and sabotage the other in their own alliance.
I mean, it's like, it becomes like kind of a weird, like, quasi-European family, but it's like a very dysfunctional fucking family where they all just kind of like bicker, fight amongst each other, and wonder why they even exist in the first place. So it's just like, I mean, like, in a way, like, it actually makes perfect sense, and actually it's a pretty great way to describe it. And honestly, it's like, yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah, like, it makes sense, too, to what I'm saying, like, because at the family, you still got the fucking family table and shit, and yeah, while your family members, in the background might literally be trying to beat the shit out of each other, eventually somebody from the family, someone else in the family is going to break those fuckers up and sit them at the fucking table and shit. Like, there's still, like, this, like, hey, you have to be at the table, fucking sort your shit out. Like, hey, if you want to fight it out for a second, do it, but get it out, get over here and fucking deal with your shit, type of thing. So it's just like, I mean, it makes sense, honestly, in my mind. Like, it's like an organization or like a, unified like alliance of the equivalent of a quasi-dysfunctional family or quasi-functional family, basically.
Spheres within spheres. It's like how NATO just sort of ignored Turkey when they invaded Cyprus. Well, whoops. They're in our alliance. Guess we can't do anything. The fun part of this is militarily, due to being allied, neither side has a red line. There is no Article 5 that is triggered if one alliance member attacks the other. So there are no barriers. It's one constant hodgepodge of double dealing, espionage, funding rebellions and revolutions, and maybe even some invasions from here or there. It's like stupid, mutually assured destruction. Geopolitics as we know it, turned on its head. Do countries even act like this? Well, they do now. This is the pure chaos timeline. It's entirely possible that we could see many situations like Hungary in 1956. For both sides, this would be like a ship that is constantly leaking, dealing with undermining and protests against their ideology at any turn. The bear and eagle fighting over the wheel, and we're all going off the edge. There is also another time.
Sounds like current politics in America. Is Cody describing this timeline or America right now? Like, honestly, what's going on?
Alternate timeline. Number 2, if you will. When the Soviets first asked to join NATO, they kinda did it insincerely. They proposed that the United States be relegated to a non-voting partner within the alliance, which was considered laughable by the West and seen as an attempt to just kick the US out, which it was. Yet what if the British and French, for some reason, just agreed? What if they decided that Europe, no matter what, should just come together regardless of ideology after the end of World War II?
Alright, this one makes less sense. I mean, I guess unless, like, the European powers are like, yeah, let's, for some reason, still go back to the old, like, hey, you know, European problems are European issues and shit, instead of, like, a more globalized, you know, type of cooperation sphere type of thing. I guess unless they decide to go back to that again for some reason. Even though the last 2 major wars, I think, kind of proved why that doesn't work. Possible Churchill was anti-communist. Exactly. Like, honestly, this would imply that Winston Churchill wasn't in power somehow. And so was de Gaulle. Yeah. It would have to basically imply that either during World War II, both of those men died during the war, or that, you know, they weren't born, or, you know, something happened before they got into power where they couldn't get into power, you know, or whatever the fuck. Like, there would have to be some implication to where they weren't in a sphere of influence and power. You know, that would basically have to be, you know, there would have to be some caveat. And honestly, I think the most realistic scenario is, you know, especially for de Gaulle, is, you know, possibly, you know, being KIA. You know, Churchill too, as well, I think, you know, but he'd probably be off in some manor estate well away from England, or London, I should say. You know, because he's a fucking rich boy, you know, fat ass and shit, so, whatever. I hate how people, like, respect him so fucking much. Ugh. What a shithead. Anti-communist, racist as fuck, like, basically a typical chauvinistic, like, Westerner that, like, everyone, like, pretty much when people, like, say, hey, you're white, they basically are implying that you're, like, Churchill. And, like, you know, it's like, hey, if you have, like, the ideas of someone who's, like, the equivalent of Churchill, you're probably, like, white as fuck there, bro. It's just like us, oof. Oof.
Privileges, the Soviets join NATO, and it just kind of becomes an alliance for all. Of course, the US never would have stood for this. Realistically, had this happened, the entire...
I mean, America also would just basically be like, we literally helped you, so lol. So, like, we basically just, like, butt-fuck anyone and just get in our way on that one.
Been called off, and the US would have just went home and made another alliance. However...
And honestly, that probably would have had Canada, Mexico... It probably would have just been, like, a American, like a United America alliance, where it's just, like, both the American continents essentially have, you know, like, unified, like, American Continental Alliance or some shit. Like, that'd basically be it. Like a the Pan-American Defense Alliance or some shit. The PADA. PADA.
America loses
Pada!
power within their own club because of Russia. They're pretty much just kicked out, and we're stuck with a wacky situation where NATO still exists, just without the US. By the 1950s, we'd be seeing a United States that had been pretty much kicked out of Europe by its own allies. Taking this as a, hey, thanks for helping out, champ, and also with that whole rebuilding thing, but we'll take it from here. I could imagine the Americans would feel a bit slighted and jaded that such a thing occurred. Ironically, the United States could fall back into an isolationist mindset after World War II, leaving...
It could be. I honestly think it could have been.
Europe,
I mean, especially after World War I, we most certainly did.
To their own devices. A Europe that has no American influence, no bases in Germany or the Mediterranean.
Honestly, this sounds based.
Instead,
can we have this scenario? Holy shit, this sounds awesome.
Americans simply remain in
maybe Europe should have kicked us out after World War II. Jesus Christ.
Power globally, but are no longer involved in Europe.
Based? Jesus, goddamn, please give me this timeline. Oh, I'm about to get hard. Jesus. This is about to be NSFW.
This would just be a gold mine, a situation they didn't expect to work. Because who would expect it to work? It didn't work.
I wish.
Get it up. But these alternate lucky Soviets have made their dreams come true with one dumb gamble. What results from the
goddamn, why didn't, like, the fucking, like, lucky roulette table just, you know, why didn't they just give him that? Honestly, low-key, though, why didn't they, oh my god, okay, man. Why must de Gaulle and Churchill, man, now I really spite those motherfuckers. Oh my god, ugh. I guess maybe not as much for de Gaulle, because I actually don't really know much about him. I don't know if he was, like, you know, as much of a racist scumfuck like Churchill was or some shit. Like, I actually don't know all about that guy, so. I know Churchill was, but, I don't know about de Gaulle, though.
At Europe's request.
I just know he was definitely a fervent anti-communist type, and yeah. That's honestly really about it.
A lot of
and led the Free French armies and all that shit and yada yada. So.
Wing movements, both genuine and perhaps facilitated, happen more frequently throughout Europe. In this extremely unrealistic scenario that...
Honestly, that type of shit was already kind of happening prior to World War II. Like, there was a lot of worker parties, socialist parties, and communist parties that were on the rise in places like in Europe, not in Europe, but in like France, Germany, England, and shit. So, I actually do see it possible that, you know, in this timeline, you know, some of that, you know, could revitalize a little bit after the war and shit. And especially, you know, especially as workers coming back from the war, you know, veterans coming back and getting new jobs and yada yada and all this shit. They'd be like, hey, you know, we kind of have, you know, a good thing going. Let's, you know, like have some more security, but make sure we have like our own voice to make sure we got our shit, you know, staying good. You know, and all this other type of stuff. You know, so. I mean, it might come from, you know, a different, like, element instead of, like, you know, we must, you know, release ourselves from the struggle because, you know, shit's fucked. I mean, it's more of, like, hey, let's keep things good, you know, type of thing. I mean, god damn, I want this timeline. Holy shit. Why do I feel like things would unironically be better under this timeline, this scenario, too? Holy shit. Because, man... I mean, considering that there already were, like, some influences, especially with, like, the partisans during World War II as well, scattered throughout, you know, Europe, whether they're in, like, Poland and the Balkan states or, the, you know, in France or wherever. It's, like, I mean, they also made a major influence and it kind of helped give a little bit more of a rise to this, you know, to that type of fucking influence and shit. So... all in all, like, I feel like this type of stuff, you know, like, I actually feel like Scenario 2, in a weird way, is could have been more of a possibility than the first one. It just implies that certain leaders in power couldn't be there. It had to be different people. Like, I mean, basically, if England wasn't ruled under Churchill, and if France wasn't reestablished and was under de Gaulle, like, if it was different people and shit, there probably could have been a possibility for something like this to happen.
Actively kicks the Americans out and brings in the Soviets, it's pretty clear what would happen.
Because also the U.S. in general, just, especially during like the 1880s, 90s, 1900s and 10s, like pretty much like just like, from very early, even before the First World War, there was this very anti-socialist, like anti-proto-communist sentiment and like anti-worker sentiment within the U.S. state and U.S. system in general. And especially, given this point, that would still be there. And this will also basically make the U.S. think that, oh, Europe has now just been, conquered up by a bunch of, commie anarchists and all this shit. Like, if anything, it would just make legitimately America probably even more isolationist and, I guess in a sense, probably even more, like, hyper-capitalistic and more, like anti-worker and anti-socialistic, but in the same factor that would also heighten up a lot of those a lot of protest strikes and pickets that happened during the 50s, 60s, and 70s and shit. Like that would just exacerbate and probably escalate and radicalize a lot more of those strikes that happened in our timeline into probably legitimately maybe even more violent ones. Just because there would be such a very strong crackdown on shit like that, because they would be considered like, foreign saboteurs or shit like that. Which wouldn't be the first time, workers and shit were accused of being that way if they did strikes and shit. During World War II, they were considered traitors of the state if they picketed, while they were making weapons and shit, for the war, because it was considered sabotaging the war effort. So they could be considered traitors because of that type of shit. But a lot of workers still struck and picketed because of being against the war and being arrested for it. So, that type of shit would, it would still be going on in the U.S. if that was the case. Which, that part of the timeline would suck, but a lot of that, like, worker sentiment and shit would probably just be more stronger. Like, that type of sentiment, I think, would have just, stayed strong and even probably kept going stronger, as that type of shit went on. And maybe, certain states and, like, certain areas and regions of the country might legit, become a little bit more, like, factionalized, in a different way, not, with like the Republican GOP, and you sure didn't, you get where they got all these, immigrants coming in our country, tell you what, but, like, not in that way, but like in a more leftist way, where maybe like the Pacific Northwest or like, a lot of the Midwest, like especially where like Chicago is and Detroit and like in all these areas could potentially be a lot more like factionally lefty in comparison to the rest of the U.S. versus like the whole Bible Belt, so to speak. So, I mean, in a way, like, there's some definitely give and takes, for sure, but goddamn, the scenario, too, of this, like, little, like, what if Russia joined NATO in this timeline, like, hypothetical, oh my god, it sounds too based. What the fuck?
Out the United States and with the Soviets would ironically become the Warsaw Pact of this world. Results may vary. To sum up this whole zany scenario, the Soviets join NATO in this alternate timeline. They kick the Americans out with the help of Europe and undermine the idea of NATO. Essentially just by asking nicely, the Soviets win the Cold War in Europe. Britain and France kinda just give up. New leftist revolutions spring up across the continent. It's goofy and stupid, but it sure is entertaining. Yet that's simply the Soviets. What about Russia? The question you probably came here for in the first place. Look, I know it took a while, but I wanted to talk about the Soviets first, okay? Sue me.
Alright, so now let's get to if, we're in the 90s now. Alright, boys, we're in the 90s. So, could have been, what type of scenario could have happened for this?
The million-dollar question. Man, what would our world currently look like if after the fall of the USSR in the 90s, the Russian Federation joined up with NATO, just like Putin said they wanted to? Would this have worked? No. Once again, we have the same conundrum that happened with the Soviets asking in the 50s. Two superpowers that opposed one another would never want to come together in the same alliance. Even with the Cold War over, and both nations now capitalistic, it doesn't change the geopolitical realities on the ground.
Because now you can make a lot of fucking money on keeping that shit going.
Russia cares about...
It's no longer political, it's now profit motive.
interests.
Profit motivated.
All nations.
Yay!
Regardless of how those interests affect their neighbors. Same with the U.S. This is the sad
Because profit motive overrides literally anything else.
reality of living next to a superpower.
Which is why, if anything, this is worse.
Their interests and their neighbors' interests are not often the same. Russia also doesn't view itself as simply another European state. Even after the collapse of the USSR, even with everything going wrong in the 90s, the Russian state didn't want to simply become one of those nations. Which is what joining NATO would kind of force them to do. Which brings us to the question of NATO. The reality is Russia would have never wanted to join. Joining NATO would mean subjecting themselves to the rules of others and would strip them of some autonomy as a superpower. Superpowers don't join their enemy's alliance. And if they did join NATO, it would be under the circumstances that the US's power is limited, just like it was proposed in the 50s, which also wouldn't happen. The most realistic possibility is that this alternate timeline goes down the path that Yeltsin originally hoped for. NATO, as the Cold War entity we knew it as, is disbanded. It is replaced with a collective pan-European alliance that operates on an entirely different structure than NATO. It has more equal power for both Russia and the US. In many ways, it's the US simply disarming in Europe, no longer having bases and a large-scale military presence on the continent. Think of it like...
I mean, honestly, it's like, this whole, like, I mean, I remember, like, some of the more details about Yeltsin's proposal from his last video, and it's just like, legit, it basically was just like, if... like, I know around that same time there was also like Kosovo and shit with Clinton, you know, amongst other factors as well. And like it's like if these other variables just legit weren't at play, and there was a little bit more of on the US's part, you know, willing to actually be like, all right, yeah, we'll like kind of disarm and actually, you know, just like start demilitarizing, because at this point there's not much of a need anymore. We can have a little bit more of a cooperative sphere. But especially when it comes to war profiteering, that's literally like their worst nightmare. So, you know, and then if you fast forward just even a little further, like when fucking George W. decided to be like, no, we're going to, you know, make sure that NATO is militarized, and just went off on that fucking shit. War criminal, parasitic motherfucker. So, I mean, it's just basically if America wasn't, like, corrupted by a bunch of, like, war profiteering militaristic fucks and shit, then, you know, this could have legit been more of a possibility, because, I mean, I'm not too sure about how, like, you know, other nations and other powers in Europe were thinking, but I'd imagine they were probably a little bit more willing to try out that idea of a more, like, pan-European cooperative, like, type of sphere and shit. Like, because at least what it seems like, just all in all, like, the U.S. is mostly at, like, play at not having this happen.
A scenario. Again, the general atmosphere going forward past the fall of the USSR is that Russia is no longer a threat, and the US geopolitically focuses on other parts of the globe. Long story short, sorry Eastern Europe, you're on your own. Like, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Russia immediately would begin trying to influence their neighbors. The Baltics and Poland especially. Even the angry commoners down below won't even try to argue against this. They'll say that it's Russia's right as a power to control their smaller neighbors if they wish. And that's exactly what would happen. As an example, Estonia in our timeline was being accused of creating an apartheid against Russians by Yeltsin in the 90s. Regardless of whether Putin rises or not, this is going to be something that will occur. Any nation that has a prominent Russian population would someday lose that land. The US and this alliance would kind of just ignore it. Communism has been destroyed. We don't care about what Russia does from now on. Russia would promote pro-Moscow politicians and governments in the East to keep at least some remnant of the USSR alive. The European Union as we know it would be a bit smaller. Yet on paper, officially at least, Russia and the West would be on the same team. America would be focused on other parts of the world, and it would drive China crazy.
How China gets driven crazy?
Why China always sides with Russia. And it isn't simply because both have the same worldview. Russia keeps the West busy. When these two clash with one another, it keeps the West, and most particularly the United States, from interfering with China. That is why no matter what Russia does, China will always support them. Because Russia, for China, is like a big North Korea, a buffer that keeps their real enemies at bay.
Yep.
Even if they have to bail them out from time to time. And that's why in this alternate timeline where all of Europe comes together...
Honestly, that's why there's, to me, a lot more emphasis on it, too, because at least when it comes to the Chinese government and Chinese state, like, they're a lot more sophisticatedly, like, diabolical in a lot of ways, in comparison to, like, Russia or the West, with their fucking flaws. I mean, so it's like having them as a massive growing superpower and imperialistic power, especially being as smart as they are about it. It's far more disconcerting to me in comparison, to Russia and shit. It's like, because to me, I kind of know what they're like. They're trying to flex their shit, but fundamentally, they're more or less kind of a broader distraction that China's buddy with, because it keeps them like. It's why they've been like the most rapidly growing economy for decades now at this point, because of this shit. Like, they just see a lot of these other different things as a perfect distraction for them to grow out of it, and if anything, definitely make some profit off of it too. I mean, sure, they might have to bail out from time to time Russia occasionally, and North Korea probably more so, but to them, it's like they can make up that money in other investments and shit, like with the Belt and Road Initiative, and then like going into countries in Africa and basically having them go into debt with them by saying, hey, we'll build up in your infrastructure and all this other shit, and that essentially means you have to kind of slowly pay us back a little bit, but hey, we help you out. It's like, I mean, it's basically like a stab you in the back while I help you out type of shit. I mean, so it basically ensures their growth and power and influence in these different parts of the world and shit, and you don't really even have to put fucking a single boot or a single gun on the ground to do it. Which is why they're a lot more smarter about it, because you can fly that under the radar a lot more better than fucking putting drones up in the air and bomb the shit out of markets and shit, like America does and Russia. So it's like, I mean, like, when you have a superpower that's just being a lot more smarter about their imperialistic expansionism, that's a little bit more sinister in comparison to, like, the, in a lot of ways, just for its covertness, instead of, the more open, blatant, shit like a war. While that in itself is also sinister, but in different ways. And in those different ways are, also probably just as and even more fucked up. Because there's direct exacerbated instability and destruction and death and humanitarian crises, so on and so forth, and, we don't have to get into it.
By China. Instead of simply worrying about their coast, China now has to worry about the massive border with Russia to their north. While authoritarian, in our timeline, China still tries to take issues through a calm and collective manner, at least compared to Russia, and it's because by playing all sides, they come out on top. Yet if 2 out of the 3 global superpowers are united, then that just makes them the sole target, and their actions following the 90s would in many ways mirror the paranoia that we saw Putin go down in our timeline. Competition with the Russians over Central Asia, and particularly Mongolia. Perhaps China even tries to do something with Taiwan. And as the factory of the globe, realistically, there would be very little for the West or Russia to do anything about it. The sanctions we see against Russia today are only possible because the Russian state doesn't provide the West with anything other than cheap gas, which explains the gas prices. But China makes everything. If they were belligerent and sanctions came down, sure, it would hurt.
Plus, a lot of these fucking fossil fuel companies like to price gouge it as well, because honestly, especially in the U.S., like a lot of our gas and petrol oil and shit, I mean, a lot of it comes from home, from here, and also from Saudi Arabian oil too. So it's just like, well, I guess in a sense it'd be more expensive to get in comparison to just more cheaper, also very likely lower quality petrol, oil, and gas by Russia and shit. I mean, there's more of a direct source to it still, you know. So in a lot of ways, it's also a way to justify price gouging, you know, on gas and petrol oil and shit.
But sanctions would destroy the economy of the US and Europe, who rely entirely on cheap foreign products. In this alternate timeline, we wouldn't see China invading all of their neighbors, but they would be more active against them, and the West and Russia would be powerless to do anything about it. It is a problem imagining how two rivals would come together. Both would wish to maintain their own autonomy without the other interfering. And when two superpowers are a part of the same organization, even one like the United Nations, the best result that often comes from it is inaction. Which is why in many ways this scenario seems so general. Inaction is the scenario. The best this new alternate alliance can do is nothing. And like I said earlier, do geopolitics even work like that? In an alternate timeline where NATO didn't expand, and everyone came together in this alliance originally proposed to include all of Europe, it would still be divided into spheres. Even outside of the idea of NATO, Russia prides itself on being fundamentally different from Western Europe. That's just the reality without fundamentally changing the societies and governments of both. Whether or not this is a positive outcome really depends on where you're located and where your allegiances lie.
My allegiances are on humanity. So at least with scenario 2, like, at least when it comes to like workers and you know people's rights and shit, when it comes to kind of propping that up and at least cutting down on the being a U.S. citizen on U.S. expansion, imperialistic power and shit. That's definitely based. So I mean, it's like, I mean, all in all, it's like I don't really have, like, at least to me, I don't got an allegiance in this shit. Like my, that's why, especially when it comes to like the whole Russia-Ukrainian war, like I still support, the people of Ukraine and, make sure that, they have the most minimalistic amount of suffering and tragedy from all this type of shit, and that they do stay strong and pull through, but like, I mean, that doesn't mean that I'm also gonna like, pick a side either, when it comes to it. Because, I mean, no one should have to like fucking pick up a gun and fight a fucking war. Because some stuffed suit motherfucker, decided, to take his own fucking grand actions and enact his own fucking more grandiose dreams and shit. But I like the first comment that was pinned from Alternate History Hub by Alternate History Hub. This is stupid. Enjoy. And hey, I don't think it was stupid. I mean, honestly, they're fun little thought experiments, because I do think there are variables that could at least make some elements about some of those scenarios likely. Now, I honestly think the second scenario, at least for the USSR aspect, could have been possible, just depending if like certain people were not in power, in mainly England and France. So that would kind of have to play the role in having that be the main possibility. At least for Russia, if the U.S. was just a little bit more honest and willing to demilitarize and, kind of boot out of Europe a little bit, at least militaristically, and, potentially, at least work more diplomatically to, see what, Yeltsin's proposal was about and shit, there could have been a likelihood of, something like that as well. But, I mean, are they realistic? I mean, not necessarily. But still fun to think about. Yeah. My empty wheat container. Boo. Luckily I'm not low, but at least not low enough to worry about it until like my weekend. I get paid tomorrow anyway, but I gotta work tomorrow too. Fuck. That's gonna suck. I'm gonna hate that shit. I hate split days. Fuck split days. I don't even feel like I'm like totally revitalized either. Still feeling all like, ugh. Boo. Getting too old for this shit, I tell you. Too goddamn old for all this fucking bullshit I see. God, this cough is knocked the fuck out. Man, it's adorable. Oh, you're not knocked out. Oh, you look so cute. Oh, look at you. Man, he was being the most insane ball of cocaine, like, 2 hours ago. Like, my roommate, Fred Durst, was just, like, messing with him a little bit. You know, his booty to me. Totally distracted. And I just, like, and just like grabbed him in, just picked him up, womp womp, then just dropped him and then like pushed him across like the hard floor. And he just like slid and just started like bouncing and jumping and going like going fucking insane. And then started running up to me, just like, you know, wanting to like just go hardcore roughhouse mode. It was ridiculous. Caught him off guard and he was like, oh my god. Little psycho dog. You're just a cute little sweet boy, being psycho as you is. Oh, apparently some other random little funny thing. Seen Mama's live stream recommended to me. I was actually watching a little bit of that earlier. And apparently Destiny got permanently banned on Twitch. Which honestly, for him, I'm not even really that surprised or feel that bad about it. Cause like I honestly never liked, I kinda at one point liked the dude when he was going after like right-wing dipshits, but then at this point he's pretty much like kind of become what he hates now. Like he's gone on like more anti, you know, like a lot more like anti-worker type of sentiment rants and shit on Twitter and on streams before and shit, saying like they're dumb and can't make their own decisions, blah blah, and all that shit. And also it's gone on like full on like transphobic like hate raids on people where he basically like lets his fans and shit like get sicked on, you know, onto different like trans content creators and shit. I mean, kind of legit a full-on scumfuck on top of being like a very massive kind of like sociopath and narcissist type. And it's just like, ugh. Honestly, not, again, too surprised considering this type of shit. Because it's just like, we do like little hate raids and like, do like, you know, like transphobic takes and shit. And fucking like anti-worker takes and fucking like, you know, just going hardcore, saying people are just like dumb, fucking, you know, stupid, just like, you know, letting your community like be sicked on and do like little hate raids on people and shit. It's like, kind of reap what you sow there, buddy. Considering me being like, you know, essentially one of the victims of one of those like type of hate raids on Twitch and shit, I definitely got no sympathy for a motherfucker like that. You know, has been known for that type of shit. It's like, nah. I mean, it's like, again, like every time I like hear about folks like Destiny or shit, like these like major like drama baiter motherfuckers and shit, it's always like stupid toxic type of shit. And it's like, it's because honestly there's reason for it, because, you know, they thrive off of this type of shit. And if it means being like a legit transphobic like fucking asshole that like lets your community go off on other people and shit in their communities, then it's like, well, it's kind of what happens. It's kind of what you get. I mean, basically. Where's the roommates working? Nah. I mean, if he was working today, he already worked. So he's probably just either chilling or taking a nap. I mean, he's in there, just doing whatever the fuck. I don't know. We don't have to like literally be like next to each other like all the time, just like chat and be like, hey, what's up, man? Yeah. I mean, honestly, I was gonna like do a couple errands today, but I'm just like still fucking like all drained out. So I'm like, ugh. And with these split days, I'd rather just like take the day to rest and shoot for that on Friday, because at least then after being paid, I'll have fucking money. So I'm thinking. You know, I just kind of realized, at least with Zukov's vest, I still can actually, like, use it for him. Especially with, like, the little clap that I have on him. Because I got a... Hold on. If I can get it out without dropping shit. There we go. Don't think you're going anywhere. I got one of these things on it, so I could just attach this to some other shit. And I have a little red star for his name. Well, you know, with a number on it that I'm not gonna show, obviously. I mean, you know it, but obviously, you know, we don't need the rest of the world knowing that shit. Oh, enough with the snow. You've returned. Zukov. Zukov boy.
Okay, come on, back off.
Yeah, you're probably smelling that other pooch on him.
Yeah.
Zukov.
Oh. Yeah, Zooks. Good pups.
No problem, yeah.
Holy
He's actually
crap.
finally back from watching over my brother's dog and shit. Zooks.
Man, I feel like crap.
Zukov. Well, quit annoying him. Get over here.
Oh, Zooks, you're fine. Give me a chance to sit down for a bit. Oh, shit. Well, I'd recommend the social distancing at this point. Yeah, Zooks. Yeah, that's a good dog. That's a good puppers. Okay, get your snoot.
Yeah, Zukov doesn't understand what social distancing is.
Well, he doesn't have to worry. You might.
What do you mean? Are you like sick or something?
That's annoying. I want to name my close in the side of the head. My eyeballs are on fire. Okay, Zooks, let's go. Let's go. Holy crap.
Zukov, get over here. I don't know how to fuck COVID. I'm gonna blow a smoke weed wall. Smoke weed wall. Provide resistance to air that way. Definitely don't want it. Yeah, one of my friends got tested positive for it. And he has a concert on April 1st. So it's just like, I'm gonna be on like hella extra fucking like, I'm finna fucking about get paranoid here, dude. Where is my, like, you know what? I don't even give a fuck. There it is. I'll wear this shit right now. I don't even care. Finna fucking get my ass paranoid? Hell no. Ain't about that bullshit. Nah, fam. Beat a bandit, Lord of Lords. He's outside somewhere. Better not have fucking gotten a cat. Swear to God if he did. And also you need to worry too, because you can transmit as well, you little bastard. Probably don't need to worry about that as much. As long as I'm not, like, next to him in the same room. It's like, my God. It's like, honestly, better just get a fucking COVID test. I was trying to text my friend because he's all like, transport issues are breaking Facebook right now, Lamau. It's like, because like Facebook recognizes, like, it has like a whole fucking algorithm akin to your specific shit. And I'm trying to just explain that to him. Oh my God. There we go. I can only imagine why, you know, like, transport stations are blowing up on his fucking Facebook, probably because he doesn't blur off random hot takes, and now people are probably trying to clap on him on it. Because, legit, his transition take, like, his trans takes in general are just stupid. And I won't even really say anti-trans shit, like, which I feel like, considering how he just, like, constantly says, like, hey, I'm not, no. It's like, it's like, I mean, what the fuck, bro? Like, actually try to, like, understand it a little bit then, instead of just trying to, like, make, like, definitive claims of, like, of shit that you don't really get. Because, I mean, at that point, it's just, like, ignorance at best. Zukov, come here.
If I can actually make it out
Zukov.
again and get the rest of my stuff. Come on.
Here. Oh, what tree can I give him? I'll give him one of these.
Holy crap.
Did you get COVID tested?
What?
Did you get COVID tested? Zukov, hey. Up.
No, I haven't been tested, but it's probably going to be a positive if I do.
Well, probably should, make sure.
freaking crap. Actually, I'm hoping it's COVID, because if it's not, I don't know what the hell I got, but I got something. Oh,
Well, I hope it ain't. Like, I got a fucking job and money to make. You don't. Shook off. Little baby. Little goofball. Okay, now I'm really getting fucking paranoid. It's like, yeah, let's just kind of release all the mandates now. It's all good, fam. Oh, like literally like a week after that, suddenly a bunch of people are starting to feel like shit and get sick. It's as if the pandemic never fucking ended. Well, but hey, the economy matters more, bro. The economy matters more. We gotta get back to work. We gotta, get people back at her and, just back at it. Who gives a fuck? Just pull yourself by bootstraps at this point. We can't have this go on forever now. It's like, oh my fucking god. It's like, Dios fucking meow. Took off. Look at you. Little baby. You want another treat? I'll give you another one. Even though I shouldn't, but I am. Sniffly little boy. Paw. Good boy. Good baby. Up. Up, up. Good boy. Sweet little thing. So, Guffy, just gotta seriously stop being goddamn cute. It's absurd. Teach him to attack on command. He's still kind of a puppy. I can't get him quite yet with that. Not yet, at least. Oh, Bandit's probably here. I think I heard him. Sukov, come here. Let Bandit inside. Come here. Sukov. Sukov.
You can get your face caught up.
Yeah, it's Bandit. You're asking where Bandit is? There he is. I would go over there to get him, but I'm now very heightenedly paranoid.
Let's go.
Zukov! 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 I'm just gonna stay in this corner.
Come on, bandits.
Bandit! Zukov! One of you! My boys! My boys!
Come on.
My boys!
There you go. Yeah, that's a good kitty.
Bandit! He's inside now.
Yeah, that's a good bandit.
Bandit!
Okay, Sukov, out of the way.
Zukov, Bandit, my boys!
Holy
My boys! Zukov! No! Come back! You shithead!
And banders.
Bandit! Where you, boy?
He's right there. Oh, crap.
I'm gonna say, like, just right here.
I'm not sure what I got, but it definitely does not feel good, and it's lasted a frickin' week. Okay, bandit.
Fucking weak. Bandit!
Move along.
Oh, hey, Zukov! Oh, ain't gonna get Bandit.
Yeah, bandit pits through the kitty doors who cock not so much. Holy crap.
Better not be fucking cold, I swear to God. If it is, kicking his ass. I think that's meritable for an ass kicking there. Because dead ass don't need that shit right now. I got fucking money, man. Shit to do. Things to pay off. People to pay off. Shit to buy. I got things. I ain't got no like fucking like I ain't got no time for this shit. I'll straight up like trip mask on that shit. I'll triple it. I'll get like an N95, get this gator on, and then put my bandana over that. I'll just like literally yell at people. Hey, I gotta get Charlie. Just start yelling at people, dude. I don't even give a fuck. Like if that's what it takes to avoid shit, then goddamn, I'm doing it. Probably be okay if you got the booster. Which reminds me, I should probably get another one. Cause I'm really serious about that shit. He smells Cooper on it. That's why. He smells the other dog. Oh my god, my friend's responding to my text. I doubt it, because I've had this trans issue stuff pop up on my Google for 6 to 7 months, and just now people on Facebook are catching on. You're right about the algorithms, but it's a big problem right now for a lot of people. I wonder why. Like, I would hope that's self-explanatory. But, oh my god. Honestly, he's more on the road joking side of things when it comes to that.
Definitely be a good day to quit smoking.
I'm making a marijuana smoke ball. You stick to that path line.
Still got some pot left.
Stick to the line right here. You do not cross that line. You ain't crossing that line right there. This is arbitrary line that I'm just putting right here. There's no crossing this.
Stay at least 6 feet away from me.
You get a fan and just like establish it right here. Just blow it that way. So my little marijuana wall just like starts blowing forth and suppressing it that way towards the dough. Tough house. He reminds me of my dad, and that's good. Bandit! Bandito! Oh, Sukov, you little shithead! He just went BAM and just like smacked his bandit on his ass. He just like ass slapped him. Slapped his ass, bro.
And Bandit, you should probably stay away from him.
Oh, got him good, Bandit. Good boy. Good Bandit. He ran to the slide and went boom and then just started going again, dude. Bandit had like a little slick slide. Bandit got slick there for a second. He did like some ninja shit. He was like, bam, running off. Zukov, come here. Zukov. Zoo, get revenge for past transgressions. Honestly, the way I'm looking at it, it's more like brotherly love. Zukov. Zukov, baby. He's over there by that door. What a goofball. I tried to burp, but I couldn't. Damn. Boo. I hate that shit. Zuka, get over here, bro. Bring that ball over here. Get your ball. Your ball. Ball. Ball there. Get it. Oh my god. This synth beat slaps. It's white bad audio. Discovered it through TJ, and I've just been playing a lot of their mixes since. Works great for these YouTube streams, honestly, just because one, they slap, and two, no copyright problems. So white bat audio, I like that shit. I want to find like the very specific mixes that like TJ finds and shit, because I don't know if I know of one of them, but I don't know which other ones he has that he uses specifically. Because I like those little playlist mixes that he pulls up, and it's like, yeah, I like it. The song was called Vendetta. This one's Nemesis. I actually know one song that's a pretty good one that I like a lot, called whatchamacallit, Detox. That's a pretty good song by White Bad Audio. Did you ever watch Johnny Cash's cover of Big Iron? Oh, I haven't yet. Damn. It's one of those things where I really want to, but it's just like, fuck. It would not be a good idea, obviously. Man, yeah, I want to play it, but I already know it'd be an issue. It's pretty much about the same amount of time for the song. So, pretty much sticks to the same BPM. Wait, what the hell? There's a Synthwave 80 remix of Big Iron. What? Okay, hold on. We gotta hear this. Eastern Alice. Well, this is a synthwave. This is like somebody's like cover, or like this is like by Astrophysics. Astrophysics presents Laser Fight Synthwave. Johnny Cash, Big Iron. Oh, is this like a Johnny Cash variation of it? Oh, so this is using Cash's voice. So we could kind of hear Johnny Cash's voice in it. Ooh. I like it. Someone take a slip. The strangers are among them have Big Iron on his hip. Big Iron on his hip. It's actually a pretty dope ass song. The morning when we rode into town. In the island's glass outside, swinging all around. Minutes and all loose and running came a whisper from each lip. He's there to do some business with a big iron on his hip. Big iron on his hip. I kind of, honestly, I thought a little bit more of the upbeat instrumentals actually kind of fit. A little more than I thought. Kind of makes it kind of like a more heroic, you know, type of upbeat. His records on his lips, so heads are going to 19 more. Talking, they planes with folks around. He was there as a ranger, still looking downtown. He's here taking out long back, alive and maybe dead. He's still do some business, he's after Texas Red. The Texas Red. Hey, I like this peak of it. Watching from the windows, everybody held their breath. His years and some nature was about to meet his death. About to meet his death. I mean, it's like, honestly, it's like the main difference for, you know, this version of the song is if it'll be like 2077 or something like that, instead of just like a big old Big Iron single action, it'd be like some railgun or some shit, like a railgun pistol. That should be badass. Or like the Terminator's burst pistol, which I guess technically wouldn't necessarily be like a hyper-futuristic gun, but I guess for its age it was. A lot of guns in the 90s actually like adopted a lot of like that sci-fi shit that kind of came from the 80s a little bit. Yeah, I like the little solo they got, you know, for the little outro of it. Ooh. Alright, the instrumentals for this is really dope. I felt getting a high score in arcade shooter games. Damn. Good comment. Astro keeps saying he's not making any more meme remixes, but keeps dropping absolute straight bangers. Patrolling Night City almost makes you wish for a nuclear winter. An occurring in a Mojave wasteland, but spec and energy weapons. Damn. Nice. I love some of the meme comments that come out, you know, of some of the YouTube comment sections like that. Some good shit. Some good shit, man, damn, tell you what. Oh shit, my homeboy's saying his parts are going to be at the shop tomorrow for his car, so it looks like she get that back Friday or Monday. Hey. That's some good shit right there. Boom. So cool. Look at you. You're so cute. Why are you so cute? Look at you. Oh. Oh my god, you lazy bones. You should totally put a Cash App link in the description in case anyone wants to give you one S. Oh, definitely. Yeah, I'm going to be working on that here in the near future for sure. I mean, just due to time constraints, I probably won't be able to, like at the moment, just because I would have to have a desktop to do it on. But luckily that will change here very soon. Come here, bye-bye. Just a little thing. Stretch the thing. Oh. Oh. Come here. Oh. Fucking lazy bastard. Oh. There we go. God, you lazy bones. Oh, you lazy bones. Oh, you lazy bones, you. Oh, you lazy bones. Oh, look at you. What a lazy bones. It's a little bit more stuff than that, I thought. There we go.
Pump your head in my room and make sure I'm full of crap.
Yeah. Well, I think you'll be fine if you're still walking right now. Suits, what in the hell are you doing? You're so lazy with this. You goofy baby. Oh, look at that face. Oh. What is this? What are you doing? Oh my god. Whoa. Boof, Zukov, boof. He ain't gonna be doing no boofing, he's just gonna be doing like these lazy ass old nons. They have fun here? Oh god, you're so goofy. Boofed in your face. I don't even know, he sneezed in my face before multiple times.
And of course, it's answering the phone.
Right. You're being so lazy about this. You're a lazy little shitbag, you know this? Oh my god. God, look at you. Look at this. Oh, look at you. Where's the baby? Who's the baby? Who's the little baby? Who's the little baby? Who's the little baby? Man, look at you. What is this? What are you doing, Zooks? You're such a lazy baby. Cheek rib. Give me a little cheek ribs. Have fun. Have fun with this. You lazy bones. Look at you. Oh my god. Hey, careful with the bong, bro. You are not going to do that. You ain't doing shit about that, huh? Alright, look at you. Look at you. You're absurd. Come on. What are you doing? Yeah, you hear a kitty, don't you? Will you kill him if he knocked over the bong? I want to kill him, but I'll be very mad. What are you... What is this? What? There you go. Oh, well, you fucking lazy bones. I let him down, but he's like, just kind of flops. No fucks giving a shit. Wow. Just wow. Lazy bones. He came. It's like came in. Like, boo. You're a crazy boy, you know that? Boo. Look at you. Look at you. Bye bye. Baby. Come on. Come here. Come here, Zooks. Come here. You don't want a little love and cuddle? Even though you already got it? I'll give you a little more if you come here with the, where lazy boy is. Yeah, he is. Want your stick? I'll just chuck this at you. How about that? We were supposed to catch it. We got the headshot on him and he was like, Didn't know how to react to it. But now he's chawing on it. Good boy. Just a sweet little dog he is. Just a sweet little dog he is indeed. Sweet boy. He boots. Yeah, he's definitely more of a booper. It's more like a woof. It's more like a bois. It's like a wolf, more so than just a full-on boof. Oh. I don't know if I shared this with you, it was a group chat that you and I were in and shit, but this is on the Portland subreddit the other day. This little cat that was found after it was lost. But look at this fucking face. Look at the face of that fucking derp. That is the derpiest fucking face I've ever seen on a cat. I mean, that is just like quite a derpy face. It's like, oh my goodness. Well, he's just a good boy. Derp cat. I know, he is a derp cat.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that the cat was found, because it looked like it got loose off of a, you know, leash or, you know, escaped, you know, because it has a harness on. So, it looks like, I mean, the cat at least, you know, is well taken care of all in all. It just looked like it kind of got loose and just escaped and just kind of went on its way and was found. So... Sick off. Come on. Come here. Baby. These look like goof. Do you have any toys that are within arm's reach? Oh, I have to make a marijuana shield wall before I feel comfortable going through your vicinity. Oh shit, started early. I didn't date. Split day off, so I'm just kind of taking the day to recoup. The whole minute, I might take just a miniature little hiatus just to go grab a fat ass burrito and come back. But I mean, I don't know about that yet. I still got food here, so it's not like a big deal. But I am feeling a burrito, I'm not gonna lie. I'm still on a Call of the Indian team. They just woke up, lol. Oh, damn. They're all awakening and ready to do biz, and you're just like, oh shit. Means I gotta go out. I need to do some work too, oh shit. Fuck. Late 9-hour work. Yep, late night work means. Gotta love it. Screws right out. I might. I mean, gotta remember, I'm still in a little bit in recov mode. Not a lot, but a little bit. Mostly just from work, not really from the drinking out at this point. He's a good boy. More on that like burrito game more so than the brew game. Prepare for drinking later. Yeah. That'll probably be actually that'd probably be a good idea. Get a couple brews, have us for just save those and just get the burrito first at least. Does sound like a good idea, not gonna lie. I have a burp I know is one to like whip it, but it doesn't want to come out. Ugh. It's like boo. Oh, you know what? I'll use this to get that ball. Yeah, perfect. Survive, adapt, overcome. Come here, you ball. Come here, ball. That's right, boom. Hell yeah. Prospects. Not boosted, but yes. But yeah, you honestly might have some of the coves, and it's just like, when he came home, I was already here, plopped, so now I don't even want to move. Because he's been back and forth a couple times, so I'm just like, well, I don't really want to move from my vicinity. And then I also put this on, like, in the process of realization. It's like, fuck that. I got work, I got fucking, you know, money to make and all this other shit. I got priorities. COVID ain't on it. This dead ass, like, you know, it's like the pandemic has never been like really gone, but you know, it's like I find it kind of funny how like it's literally within like a week or so after like these mandates have been kind of lifted and shit. Now there's like people starting to get sick again. Because my friend has COVID too. He just got tested positive today. It's like circle protection. I ignore husky. Yes. Trying to make a marijuana smoke wall. I don't think it's gonna work, but hey, placebo. These are cool. You sweet big boy. This is the Dr. Nick food test. Well, I was about to get some burritos. If you can rub the food on a sheet of paper and see through it, it's good for you. Like, huh? Rub the food on a sheet of paper and see through it. It's good for you. If it's greasy, it's good. Oh. Okay, wow. I mean, that's true, because the burritos I usually get are pretty greasy. Because, yeah, I can see through it. Yeah, yep. No, I know what you mean now. It took me a second, okay? I'm just slow. I'm just a slow person, please. So, Coffee, looking at me like you're contemplating my existence. I don't know how I feel about that. Is that little spider still up there? Oh no, that spider has moved on to different pastures. What the fuck? There was a big ass spider last night by that light. And now it's just like, yo, where'd it go? I knew Zuka was looking up there for some reason. Because, like, that thing isn't there anymore. Taco Bell Devil's Challenge involves smoking a bowl and eating 20 soft tacos with Diablo sauce. That's a challenge. I put hot sauce on my tacos already. I usually don't go Diablo, but I'll put a little bit of that in there. I usually also don't necessarily eat 20 tacos, but I could definitely do that too. I totally just made that up. Diablo sauce is weak sauce. Yeah, it's not really that strong. I mix it in with like some of the mild, and because I like the flavor of the mild a little bit, but the spiciness of Diablo too. So I get like, you know, one of each and just put those on each taco. Boom. Now if you eat a single taco drenched in Reaper sauce, that would be something. Yeah, that would. I'm just gonna have something to snack on to suffice myself in the meantime here. No! You butt. What the hell? You're a little butthole, bro. I took a bit of break from sauce, and when my friend visited me last week, I had half a teaspoon of Reaper, and goddamn ran through me last 24 hours. Oh, damn. They got it on me next time I need a cleanse. I mean, no shit. Oh my god. It's like the Reaper. We'll make sure that you get a good cold cleanse. Works in less than 24 hours, or your money back guaranteed. These are for me. No. Smoke joint, drop Reaper sauce on it. Fuck. You. No. Are you insane? That's like the equivalent of, like, smoking tear gas, basically. About the tear gas. I'm quite insane. Well, hey. It's okay. Because I am too. I'm not gonna go try it. Yeah, and then you get knocked, as in 6 feet under. $20? Dude, what cheap ass hoe was fucking willing to snort a ghost pepper for $20? Oh my god, wow. I have a small jar of powdered Reaper pepper I made with my spice grinder. I wouldn't even think of storing it. Shudder. My friends were from high school were all about making bets to make a buck. Oh my god. You would think that they would have a limit, but I guess not. Cheap ass little hoes. Made me squeeze, just transferring it from the grinder to the jar. Oh, sneeze. Squeeze. Why did I read sneeze or squeeze out of that? Fuck. Oh, you little prick. You're trying to see if you can sneak this out of my fingers. Well, fine. I also got some kids snorted up crushed up cracker and pepper for $10. I'm just gonna be blunt. Was this kid like just dead ass, for a lack of better words, just a little slow in some ways? He just literally didn't give a fuck. Like survival instinct, you know, like the genes for survival instincts and that like part of the brain development just never happened, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, what the I could see maybe having like some sort of like a butter-coated like cracker just with nothing but like all sorts of different peppers on it, and you have to eat like 10 of them for $10 or some shit. I could see that, but like crushing up a cracker and a pepper, you know, some peppers, and just like snoring it in the snow and those peppers, but oh my god. I mean, there was times where I did some shit for cash in high school, but it never was anything close to that. It was more so like, hey, you know, like, I'll give you this if you know, fucking go over there and do this thing or something. And it was usually more like, you know, on the sides of just like memes or some shit, usually. Like just kind of memeing on other people or doing troll antics and shit. I can't even really think of anything on top of my head. It was just basically like, you know, little weird high school troll antics that were for you know, for the most part at least, you know, pretty harmless. There's that burp. Oh, that was nice. Built up to be a fucking respectful, like from the heart. Damn. Like a totally snort dirty snow, salt, and pepper. I cannot, like, my nose, the back of my eyes. We were the poor kids in a rich kid's school. Ooh. I remember middle school. There's this whole challenge of snorting Pixie Sticks. It was really the most stupidest thing ever. And then this one kid will just get Pixie Stick after Pixie Stick and just like go full ham on it. It was like a fad for like 2 or 3 weeks. But it was to the point where like they didn't want like kids and, you know, people having them now at that point. So I think that was why. Then I think at the end of the trimester or whatever the fuck, they let people have it again. At that point, the fad faded away. Lemon snow? What the fuck is lemon snow? It's just like salt and like lemon zest.
Oh, check it out, lemon snow. What? Yeah, that stuff's delicious. Lemon snow? You gonna just falls from the sky like that? You bet. One of nature's treats. You gonna have some? Nah, I'm already full. But you should have some before the other kids get to it. What is it, like Italian ice? Yeah, exactly, like a sorbet. Ah! That's not lemon! No, it's not. You bastard! I was having fun playing in the snow, and now you've ruined it like a pizza place ruins a salad.
Ruins a salad. Oh my god. That's why you don't, you know, eat the yellow snow. Because, yeah. That could happen. Ugh. I don't even want to think about. Oh god. Ugh. I used to love getting snow cones at amusement park with different flavor syrups in it. Oh, I love those, dude. Every now and then I unironically will like crave that, like a little fucking kid that I am sometimes. We love it. Brian's like, no, it's not. And he just sits there with his little shit-eating grin. It's great. Well, what's up? Smart paintbrush packaging in Mexico. Oh my god, this is awesome. Paintbrush packaging in Mexico. Oh my god, this is awesome. I love this. This is so cool. This is great. It's like, hey, how do you like my mustache there, you know? I got a very glorious mustache. So glorious you can paint with it. See? I love it. This is awesome. I'll see some of the comments on this. I guess you could say the packaging is stroke of genius. Ba-dum-ts. Be clear handy to have a stash of these for a painting project. These sort of little things. I love them. Sadly, I feel like a certain group will want to picture change because there is almost someone from oh, like, you know, the offense squad or some shit. Okay, whatever. Wait, Aunt Jemima. Well, is he really? Okay. You don't even have to go back that far when it comes to Aunt Jemima. Like, they're just dead ass is straight up, like, a little bit of some, you know, kind of racist implications a little bit. Like, I think once you kind of start getting into, like, the 1670s, like, at least some of the art, if it was in a vacuum, I think it'd be okay, but considering the historical context, it's like, eh. I mean, because I also remember when DeFi Fried was looking at some racist ads of the past, their first episode of it, they were looking at some Aunt Jemima ads for historically, and there was actually, like, straight up a phase where it was like, if it really wasn't for the, like, kind of racist, like, connotations, you know, behind it, and in a vacuum, you know, it actually wouldn't really be too bad, you know, but it's just, like, considering, obviously, the connotations, especially from where it came from and what it was kind of, you know, evolving away from, so to speak, but still trying to, like, seed it in there. It's like, yeah, I mean, I don't know, like, Aunt Jemima don't necessarily work too well. I mean, it'd make more sense if you did, like, Potato Head or something. It's my father-in-law. Okay, that kind of made me laugh. Let the testosterone go crazy. Nietzsche's Latin American cousin. I like it. I wonder if they come in different styles too, like if they have like different hat colors or like different, like, you know, faces, so to speak. So if they have, like, you know, blonde brushes or something like that, you know, maybe it's like a different face or something like that. That'd be actually pretty cool. some different variations, you know, of that type of little design. Because I like that. That's dope. I just kind of like that general marketing gimmick and overall, because it's like, hey, you know, it's like we're out there, you know, trying to build up a house and stuff, or, you know, build up something. Obviously, you might need to paint it. And just what better way to kind of like, you know, like, you know, connect to that a little bit by just, you know, being like selling it directly by putting the faces like, hey, you're the face that we want when it comes to buying our paintbrushes. You just sweet baby. You think you is? I think you is just sweet little baby. You stop me so dang cute, there's a goth. It's absurd. Absurd. Oh shit. Some money next I actually kind of forgot to check out. I saw the little latter half of that. Boo. I'll have to see the first half. Actually didn't really go as long as the other ones have. Guess not a lot of people, or at least not a lot of the plebs, decided, you know, fork over some quiche. So they have their other little segments and shit as they build it up. It's so cool. Look at you. Look at the baby. You're so sweet. You're just a sweet little baby. He's got like this face of derpiness now. Because like your head hasn't really totally grown in to like your skin that's grown now. Going for your little growth spurt a little bit. Like you have this very smooshy face. Makes him kind of look like an old man almost. Like an old man dog. But still very much a puppy. Why do you have like this tiny little puppy head still? I mean, at least from a distance it doesn't look like it anymore, but up close it really shows. Republicans down there still going on about building the wall. Oh my god, color me shocked. Because with Biden in office, apparently there's been like a mass influx and a mass like invasion of immigrants or whatever the fuck, as it usually is of a Democrat apparently with these fucks. Even though he's been deporting more immigrants than even Trump has in his first like year so far. So, like, it doesn't exactly, like, kind of go on par with reality with that type of shit. Looks sleepy. Are you just being a sleepy boy now? Wait, didn't like me judging you? Is that it? I don't think you like that. I don't really think you like my judgment at all. Whatever happened to Gracious Cat? You mean Vadim? He like does Twitch streams and still makes content under Hates Vadim. I don't really watch any of his shit at all, so I don't fucking know what he's doing now. Specifically. I mean, honestly, yeah, he hasn't even uploaded shit in like 4 months. Cat was slow soon DP days. Well, I know his cat like passed away years back, so I know there's that. But I mean, I think from my understanding, like after that, he obviously kind of moved on from the whole creationist cat shtick and kind of did his own thing from there. Actually, I found a community post on his channel from 2 days ago. Several months ago, a health issue I dealt with a long time went off the rails and kind of totally broke me. It took time, but I'm actually great now. So, well, I guess that explains, you know, what it is. Some health issues. Kind of creaming its head around the corner and shit. So, hopefully it looks like, you know, from at least what it looks like from 3 days ago on his channel at least, should be getting back on his feet. Maybe we might see him again, see what the fuck he's doing. Honestly, like, I don't know. At least, like, sometimes I've seen him on, like, you know, different little, like, debate things and shit like that. He never really, like, impressed me that much. Don't really got anything against him either. So, it's whatever. Like, without, like, the whole creationist cat thing, he's just kind of boring. Not really charismatic. I guess, like, a one-trick pony type, you know, when it came to that thing. I mean, apparently it had, like, an utterly, horribly failed podcast with Cult of Dusty and, like, some other dude that I forget. That barely went on for an episode.
Who's a cute baby?
Sweet little thing. Anyway, I think I'll smoke a little more here in the meantime. Give myself that burrito I was thinking about. Because, that sounds really good right about now, honestly, all in all. I should read up on some tea, too. I'm actually getting a little low. I want to make sure I have my tea. Go and make sure you have your tea, that is. What? You goof. I'm actually kind of debating if I want to lock them or not. I just have to figure out how I'm gonna keep it connected to me. But outside of that, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. You seem like you're kind of chilling right now. Well, I do have this collar, but it's a little banged up, for one, and for two, it's just like, I don't like collars that much. Prefer harnesses overall. Excuse me. What? Do you really want what? Do you really want that on you? Because I don't think you do. So you looking at me and at this is kind of implying something, bro. Because you know what happens if, you know, with this, right? It goes on you. Well? You want it or not? Yeah? No? Maybe so? No? That's what I thought, because I don't like putting these on you specifically. I definitely want to get one of those little tactical harnesses, though. Like, put some pouches and some stuff like that on them. And when I don't need those, then I can just take those off of them. Just as simple with little Velcro little attachments. Because I actually want to get a custom patch that says, if you look, obligatory pets, or something like that at least. Or like, I demand you pet me, or something like that. Because, I mean, he really does. Like, he's that much of a goofy, friendly dork ball. Like, I mean, he's just that much of a goof. So, I definitely want to get, like, a little, like, custom patch, at least pairs of two of them to put on them. So, when people walk, you know, see him and they're like, oh my god, he's so cute. And they're like, read the patch. If you looked at him, he's going to demand it. He's going to demand the pets. Oh, what a goofball. Baby.
Yeah, Zookers. Come on, Zooks.
Zukov, come back over here.
Yeah, that's some good pups.
Zukov, come on.
That's some good peppers.
I'm,
Okay. There you go. Good peppers.
I don't want to, but god damn it, if it gets you over here.
Oh,
Sit,
man.
sit. Up. 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 Stand up. Stand up. Stand up.
Yeah.
Good boy.
Freaking tame with it.
You're starting to get tall, dude. You're getting lanky. You get lengthy.
Oh,
You used to not be able to get that at that distance, and now you can just like swoop it up easy. Shit, bro. You get some length on your ass. Damn. Damn.
yeah, that's good Zookers.
He's definitely not as beefy as his older brother. He's definitely gonna be a lot more lengthy in comparison. More of a nimble run dog.
And then here's a
But anyway, I'll probably be back in like an hour or so, give or take. Depending. But anyway, I'm back a little bit. Gonna grab a burrito, so